At the end of this week's parsha, the Torah tells us the story of that Kedah. Avram is bringing his son Yitzchak to sacrifice him on a Mizbeach because Hashem commanded him to do so. While they're walking together, Yitzchak turns around and he does not see any animal that they're going to be sacrificing. So he turns to his father and he says, "Father." And Avram responds and he says, "Yes, my son." And then he asks him that question, "Where's the animal? What are we bringing as a carbon?" The Kliyakar points out that Yitzchak did not simply ask his question like two people that were walking together would do. Rather, he first starts off the question by saying, "Father," and then Avram responds and says, "Yes, my son." He points out that if you really think about the story of that Kedah, one would imagine that Avram had to disconnect himself from his son, from the fact that Yitzchak was his son, in order to fulfill the commandment of Hashem and do this test of bringing his son, his one and only son, that's supposed to be his future and carry on his legacy, and bring him as a carbon on a Mizbeach. So Yitzchak turns to his father and he tests his father. He says, "Avi, father," asking, "Are you still my father? Do you still have that emotion, that connection to me, that you're my father?" And Avram Avinu turns around and teaches Yitzchak one of the most important lessons in life. And he says, "Yes, my son." He calls him his son because even when there's a moment where Avram Avinu had to do something that a higher authority was telling him to do, it made absolutely no sense at the time. And of course we know ultimately Hashem never wanted Avram Avinu to actually slaughter Yitzchak. But in the moment of the test, Avram Avinu was able to surrender his feelings and his emotions and completely do what he had to do. And he still had that feeling of love towards his son. He never once lost that moment of love. When we have to do things that are very difficult, and when Hashem puts us in situations that are very difficult and challenging, we always have to remember that He is still Avi. He is still our Father. Never ever does He lose that emotional connection to us that He is not our Father.